Good evening, Jana, Jason, and Caleb. I am 1 second. Needed more light there. I've just watched your presentation on the reactive nature of U.S. foreign policy to Saudi Arabia, and I just want to say it was a really interesting outlook. I mean, to take such a narrow topic and say, hey, are we proactive or are we reactive, and sort of analyze it just from that perspective. That, first of all, is really interesting. So thank you for that perspective. Don't mind my son running back and forth in the background, please. This is my last video that I'll be making for this class. Sorry, it's kind of late. It's after dinner, and everybody's winding down for bed here. What I want to say specifically about the individual pieces of presentation, in Jana's portion, she talked a lot about, the history, sort of going back to how the U.S. sort of hooked up with Saudi Arabia in the first place, and then Jason went heavily into the oil, and then Caleb dealt with terrorism. I'll focus most on the terrorism because it's most recent in my memory. There's a lot of presentation, a lot of stuff to remember there. You guys put out a lot of information. The terrorism, what I want to say about it is I think, I really like your guys' point. I think that we are reactive to terrorism, and that's bad. But what I want to say is I want to play devil's advocate a little bit and say to your overall thesis for all three of you is it really so bad that the U.S. is reactive? We get a lot of oil from there. Okay, so they're funding terrorism, and yeah, that hurts. 9/11's definitely not something anybody would want to repeat. But overall, in general, when you're talking about policy going back to the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, policy going back 60, 70, 80 years, 9/11, although a significant bump, seems to be a bump in the road as far as, generally good a relationship that works. We get oil, so they get money, and they're oppressive, and they, and it stinks in Saudi Arabia, but the U.S., after all, is supposed to be looking out for its own interests, and, that's really what the U.S. is supposed to be doing. Now, I can see why that degrades our image a bit within the Islamic world, because here you've got the U.S. paying billions of dollars to an oppressive regime. So I get that, and by all means, I agree with that. It's a terrible image for the U.S., and I wish that we would just bomb the snot out of Saudi Arabia, or let them follow their own devices instead of bomb the snot out of them. I think the worst punishment would be just let's not buy any oil from them, and watch them fall apart. But because I'm playing devil's advocate, I have to say, what's so bad about it? So what? So we buy oil from them. It's successful, and everything works. And yes, of course, by all costs, by all means, we maintain stability in the region because we got to maintain oil. And hey, Saudi Arabia, they're the biggest meanies in the region, but the biggest meanies in the region make sure we get our oil. So that's who we're going to support. Again, overall, I like the presentation. I'm a bit distracted here. You can see my 1-year-old learning to walk in the background. Very sorry again. This is my last video. Good luck in all that you do. Thanks for the video.